All right, we're going to get started on our painting packet notes. I'm sure because this is 8th grade painting packets, your name is already on your packet, right? And the hour. We're going to start out with our watercolor. Watercolor notes. So you can put watercolor up at the beginning here. And we're basically learning two basic skills, two different techniques. One is called wet on wet. And wet on wet basically means wet paper, wet paint. Wet paper and wet paint is a wet on wet method. The second method that we're going to be learning is dry brush. Dry brush means dry paper and wet paint. Not sure why they call it dry paper when the title of it is dry brush, but that's the way it is. So these are the two techniques that we're going to be using for our watercolor, but before we do so, I want to really go over the color wheel and make sure that we all know the same information. So open up your packet to where you see the color wheel. And we'll be filling this information in as a group. So we'll start out with some of the basic questions and get a little bit more difficult. The primary colors, what are they? Yeah, we have blue, yellow, red. Red, yellow, blue. And they are the most important part of our color wheel. So when we look at our color wheel like this, I always prefer to look at this one. I know that throughout the room there's different kinds of color wheels. I like this one because it has this triangle in the center, and this is where the primary colors belong. We're going to put yellow at the top, and red, and then blue. And basically what it's saying, these are the most important colors on the color wheel. They make up all the other colors that you would see on the color wheel. So the yellow is going to come out here onto the actual wheel. The blue is going to go out here where the triangle points, and the red over here. When we look at number 2, it asks, what are the secondary colors? And secondary colors, there's a math problem to do this. What is the math problem for this? Yes?
Two primary colors together.
Yep, a primary color plus a primary color equals a secondary color. So it's nice to know that formula. And then the secondary colors are what? Green, purple, or violet, either are correct in my class, and orange. But when we go back up here, again, this type of a color wheel helps me out because what I see is my primary colors here, and then they have another triangle that comes off from it. So if I take my yellow and my blue and mix them together, it equals what? Green, correct. So I'm going to put green out here and then again out to the outer ring. Red and blue equal purple or violet, and then red and yellow equal orange. But we still have some spaces in between. These spaces are called the intermediate colors. And if we're talking about intermediate colors, we also have another math problem. Intermediate colors are a primary plus a secondary color equals an intermediate color. So that's the little math problem that goes here, but there's also another trick to this. Well, two tricks. The primary and the secondary color have to live next to each other on the color wheel. And when you write the word itself, the primary color always goes first. So, for example, yellow would go first and green would go second. The intermediate color here would be yellow-green. Here, blue-green, then blue-purple, and red-purple. We have red-orange, and orange, nope, sorry, yellow-orange. When I scoot back down, I have opportunity to write all those terms down. Please do so as well. And red, purple. The next thing that this worksheet, the number 4, is asking for complementary colors. And when you're thinking about complementary colors, again, you're going to have a primary color and a secondary color, but they aren't going to be next to each other on the color wheel. They're going to be directly across from one another. So one combination would be yellow and purple. When you think of yellow and purple, what do you think of automatically? The Vikings, absolutely. We're Minnesota people. We think of the Vikings. Yellow and purple. Well, complementary colors can be used for a couple of different reasons. One is when you put those two colors next to each other, they're very bold. So an artist might use them to make a statement, to make it stand out. So you see, like orange and blue, those are colors that you would see in the NFL and different organizations. Red and green are wild, is red and green. And it's because those colors are complementary. The artists are actually thinking about that as they're designing the uniforms. But in our case, we're going to be using them, well, let's write that down first. So one reason that we would use that is to make things bold or stand out. Bold colors are complementary if we put them together. And then the other one, B, is if you mix a complementary color, the complementary combination, it makes the color brown. All sorts of different colors of brown. So if I take orange and blue and mix those together, I'm going to come up with one kind of a brown. If I mix my green and red, mix them together, it comes up with a new kind of brown, which is really important because when we get in later on, and we're mixing our colors, we might not have a full selection. In fact, I can guarantee we won't. We're going to have our primary colors, and you have to make every other color off from them. So this information is important to know that if you mix red with green, blue with orange, yellow with purple, you get a muted color, and sometimes we like to call that brown. Number 5 is talking about warm colors. If I look at my color wheel again and I divide this right here, I have my warm colors at the top and my cool colors at the bottom. Warm and cool. It's another way to divide colors up and another way to use the color wheel for an artist's benefit. Warm colors, red, yellow, orange. But sometimes I like to put an additional color in here. I like to say pink just because pink has a name. Now, if I'm talking about a light color yellow or a light orange, these are still warm colors, but we don't have a specific name for them. So I include the word pink in here as well. And then at the bottom, For our cool colors, we have blue, green, and purple or violet. Number 7, it asks what a tint, oops, sorry, I gave away the answer. What is it called when you add white to a color? Anyone know? Oh, you guys are so darn smart. A tint, T-I-N-T is the name of that. It's when you add white. And then if you add black, I'm not going to give you the answer this time, it is called a
Shade.
Oh, so you're super smart anyways. Shade. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to ask you to get your toolboxes and fill in this color wheel with the correct colors. I suppose since we have our watercolors out, you could also use a very, not using much water, but you could use your watercolors to fill that in.